Cachamaniacs.
Geo Gearheads.
Welcome back to the Geo Gearheads. This is episode 487. I'm Daryl W4, and this is Chris of the Northwest. Once again, welcome back.
Hey, thank you very much. Do you remember the 487, the math coprocessor to the 486?
Not until you just mentioned it, but yes, I do.
It wasn't as impressive as the 387 was to the 386, but it was still there.
I totally forgot about that whole era where they were pulling out the math coprocessors and making them an addition.
They didn't pull them out. They never had them in.
Right. Yeah. But then, they pushed them into
a separate chip.
Yeah. It was a Pentium, I think, that included it.
Right.
But then they had
587 or the Pentiums. Yeah.
What was it? The Celeron that they think they had that they pulled out some of those features again. So it was a Pentium that they stripped down
They just cut the pins off a Pentium and made a Celeron.
Basically,
it's the exact same chip with, less connections on it to make the services run.
In most cases, I understand that they later on in that run, they were taking any of the wafers that had, or any of the chips that were bad in the wafer, but still passed. They were underclocking and doing the, if they had math coprocessor errors, or there was another processor in there that they were, but if any of them had any kind of errors, they just disabled it and bundled it up into a Pentium or into a Celeron.
Isn't that strange? Celeron was a mainline product, but it was a second. It was a defective mainline product that they said, hey, we can still make money off of this. But that's not what we're here to talk about tonight, Daryl.
No,
I just brought it up because
we're just geeks and we like to talk.
Yeah.
But today we're actually here to talk about events once again. So this is going to be our third show on events of 2021. Now, ironically, well, we are having events. We're just not necessarily having the megas and the gigas. But ironically, when I looked this up, the last time we talked about this was 478. So we're now on 487, 9 shows apart. We're talking about it again.
There you go. And that combination of numbers won't come up again till 748. So we got a while and we won't talk about it.
Just an interesting flip.
Okay.
That's all. But this came about largely because each of us went to different, of course, events this week.
I couldn't believe there was an event I could go to.
It's been quite a while for you. You did one, I think, last year, and that's the last time you've done one.
May of last year. So it's probably been over a year since I went. And I really didn't think this one was going to happen. So I just kind of put it out of my mind until Wits End reminded me, hey, there's an event tonight. Do you want to go? Oh, there is one. I'm in the state. Yeah, let's do this. So we did
a May the 4th event. So
this was the 20th celebration event.
Oh, nice. See, I still have mine that I have to
celebration list. Event. What have they become?
They're community celebrations. I think that's all they were ever called. So
this was put on by one of our local geocachers, Oh Joy, in the same park where she held the 10-year anniversary event.
Oh, that's a nice touch.
Isn't that nice? So
yeah.
I looked and we were out looking for caches, obviously. And I go, yeah, I found that one. Let me look when. Oh, look, I found it 11 years ago.
Nice. Yeah.
So,
I like that.
That was fun. It was so good to see people, to see the geocaching friends again. Now, this event was different because she thought she could just go there and grab the shelter, but the shelter had already been booked for, I think, a retirement party, a party of some sort.
Of course.
And, so she asked, and they were gracious enough to let her stand at the corner and direct people oh, you're here for the geocaching event? Here, sign the log. And then, go out and start looking for caches. Don't gather here. And, geocachers don't listen well. So, we started to gather and talk. And one of the gentlemen came over and said, can you keep it down? We're trying to have it. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, we're gone. We're walking away now.
Wow.
So, yeah. So it was fun. Went out and found a couple of caches. And really enjoyed. Went out with a couple of friends afterwards for a meal. I don't know the last time that happened.
Yeah, that's a pretty rare occurrence at all right now. But it sounds like it's not that different from what happened with ours, aside from the caching, because ours was essentially a flash mob in the parking lot of a major shopping mall in the area, and it was an after work kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
same here. 5
lots
o'clock
of
to 7.
yeah. Well, this was 6:30 to 7 o'clock, and the mall closes at 7. So some people did go and find some caches in the parking lot that they hadn't found, but they're not new for the event or anything. But yeah, the thing I found interesting is it's basically the flash mob, which don't really work anymore because it's half an hour. But there were a couple of people that stayed in the cars the whole time. Most of the people are just standing around outside, though, no masks, or sorry, with their masks. But the social distancing has diminished. We're down to the 3 feet now between people. And I just kind of noticed that, in passing as I was leaving that, hey, people aren't really standing 6 feet apart.
Right.
But most of the people in this group have been caching together since COVID. And I believe that over half of them were probably vaccinated, but I don't know for sure. I know a number of them were. So from the people who I know mentioned getting these shots, it was roughly 30% of the crew. And I think enough others were at least got their second shot that we could call it, 50%.
Nice. The little group of, how many were there? 1, 2, 6 of us or so, as we went out caching. Somebody asked, are we all vaccinated? And we all were. So we took our masks off. We're outside walking, still within relative spacing to each other, but it was kind of nice to be out with people and, be able to see their lips move when they talk.
And unfortunately, I would say, as much as I want the Megas and Giga events to happen again, I'm just kind of happy to have some regular old geocaching events. I would much prefer to have the regular geocaching events return in even this capacity than to have one mega event. I know it's really a nice mix, have the variety, but I just miss having the chance to hang out with my geocaching buddies.
Right.
Barling says, I like the 2-meter rule, 6 feet for the Americans in the crowd. Keeps people out of my personal space. Yeah. And that's kind of what I was noticing about it. But what I found more interesting is these are, geocaching friends. We tend to hang out closer than that normally. So the 3 feet is still, a stretch. But it was that whole comfort level that you usually don't see in the major gatherings like that. So it was notable from that perspective.
Right.
And then GSM times 2 says that your group was older than my group.
You don't know that.
He doesn't.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty much hanging out with people my age, so I'm old.
Yeah, I'm reminded of that almost on a daily basis.
Daryl, let me tell you about the old days when we used to be young.
Well, remember when I was telling you like last year that I work with a bunch of, basically kids? That's changing. We're getting a lot more experience. Yes.
Isn't that a nice way to say it?
Yeah.
Experience.
Well, and that's really what it is about is, we're getting a bunch of more experienced people. And a lot of that goes back to we're getting people who are, or we're getting people now that we're not willing to take a flyer on a startup before.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're not really the startup, it's safe to go work there. GSM times 2 says last week I loaded 3 people in my car and went geocaching with people for the first time since November.
Wow. Well, for this episode, I thought we should talk a little bit about, now this isn't going to age well, but our current CDC guidelines.
Well,
And
and
I realize
that's why we're calling it the events of 2021.
that's right. Okay. I realize these guidelines change by the minute, it seems. Somehow science keeps changing. I don't know how that works, but
the science isn't changing, the findings are changing. And we don't have enough data to make any kind of sound judgments on a lot of this stuff. Look at how much the what's called, I'm trying to say virulence, but that's not the right term, but how easily it spread. They were saying at one point that it looked like it was attaching to dust particles,
right,
and transferring that way. And then they determined, yes, it does transfer that way, but there's not enough load for it to make any change.
Yeah.
So people are taking some of these little bitty nuggets and locking onto them, publishing it, and working, on these theories. Now we have to be afraid of dirty air.
Right.
Because, okay, this study says, hey, there might be something, we have to study it.
Right. So leave your groceries out in your garage, for a week so they can decontaminate before you bring them into the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've had some questionable science used, but in fairness, we didn't have any good science to base it on. So they were basing it on what they had in order to make good decisions to hopefully stem the tide.
Right. So I wanted to start with the CDC's recommendation for domestic travel. So if you're going to go to an event, they suggest you get tested 1 to 3 days before your trip. Now, I was visiting my brother's house, and let's see, my niece's husband, does that make him a nephew-in-law? I don't know these relationship things.
I don't think so, but I can't remember what it is.
Anyway,
I'm not good at them either.
I don't either. So my niece's husband travels for work. He's a doctor. He's going back to Boston every 2 weeks for a week at a time. And he has to get a test before he leaves. Found a place that will do a quick test so he can do it the day of travel. So it's valid for the, longest period of time possible. Gets the results within 30 minutes, and he's off, and they let him work because he's had a negative COVID test. So tests are quick and easy. Find them in your area. Often they're free. They should be free. I might be the uncle-in-law, according to GSM times 2.
It's something like that.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so even if you've been vaccinated, they want you to get tested before you get on airplanes. And some workplaces want you tested before they allow you in. So this could also be true for events. And of course, when you're traveling, put a mask on, wear it over your mouth and your nose. That one gets me. Is when, people are walking around with a mask just on over their mouth. Well, they can't breathe. Right. And surgeons who have long 8 to 10 hour surgeries, they're damaging their brains? I don't think so. There's enough oxygen getting in there. Sorry. That's a little pet peeve with me.
I couldn't tell. One of the things I find interesting in the domestic travel link, and all of them have the same, all of the links that we're going to talk about today from CDC have the same thing. It says fully vaccinated travelers are less likely to get and spread COVID-19.
Right.
Note, less likely.
Right. Well, okay. So from what I've heard, when you're vaccinated, you're 95% less likely to spread COVID should you get it. You're less likely to get it by 90 to 95%, but you're all, in both cases, you're really not going to spread it. Yes, there's a chance, 5% chance.
Yeah, there's always a chance, and we've seen people who are vaccinated get COVID, and even a few people who have died from it. But the thing that everyone's latching onto that people are dying. Yes, but at a much, much, much lower rate than the general population.
Right.
And everyone that I've talked with who actually has spent any time on the numbers says it's an incredibly effective vaccine. You just don't expect to see that low numbers from a vaccine, period, let alone one that's been whipped up in so little time.
Right.
So it is pretty impressive.
And I got the second shot, and I can barely feel that tracker they put in my arm.
I didn't. I think my second shot was a placebo because I didn't feel it at all. Really, it burned. It burned a little going in, but it was so much easier for me on the second shot than the first, which I've been told means that I probably do have antibodies. So I was probably exposed, if not, caught it. But I never tested positive for the antibodies, but I only had the one blood test early on that came back negative when I had to do a blood test for that.
I didn't have any issues with the first shot. Perhaps I was a little tired. Who knows? I'm old. I'm tired anyway. And then secondly, the second shot, that one, I had a fever for 24 hours.
See, I didn't have that at all. Yeah. I was just, I got a little bit annoyed because I had to work on some frivolous thing for work on a Saturday when I should have time off, but that was about it. Pizza Ninja asks if your GPS is better with the 5G.
So much better now. I get so much better reception with the 5G.
I did actually get some caching in too, but yeah, I didn't really notice anything. GSM Times 2 says, if you have a smartphone, you don't need a tracker. They're already being tracked. Only people with flip phones get the tracking shot.
Wait, 5G helps with geocaching? Of course it does. It helps with everything. So, so when you're traveling, wash your hands often, hand sanitizer. I think they should just, right next to the metal detector, should just have a Purell curtain you have to walk through.
I was thinking one of the decontamination showers.
Okay.
Kind of like the ones in Dr. No.
Ooh. I was thinking more like a glazing
far more
station from Krispy Kreme, but with Purell.
Okay, lay down on the conveyor belt. Okay, now turn over.
Okay, we got you.
Pizza Ninja asked if every cache should now have a UV light required.
I like it. I think so. I don't see why not. Early on, I was going to get a UV, phone cleaner, UV cleaner. You put your phone and other things out. I never did. And now we learn it's not transmitted that way, so that wouldn't have done anything anyway.
No, but you know what I did notice? My watch would sometimes, especially after, longer caching type weekends, start to irritate my arm. Even after I had cleaned it off. If I popped it in the UV phone cleaner thing, it usually stopped irritating my arm. So it's not, it's not the COVID, of course, but it does help with the bacteria.
Would the UV light kill like stinging nettles and poison ivy oils? No. Okay, well, no good then.
No, but no, it's like the dirt and debris, I'm sure, that gets trapped in the watch and sticks there, and
well,
even though I clean it, just wash your hands in the nearest puddle. There you go.
And that's probably cleaner than any public bathroom you're going to go into anyway.
You're probably right.
So when you go in, get a test. When you get back, get a test, is what the CDC suggests. And stay home in quarantine for a full 7 days, no matter what the test says.
And I believe they still are asking that if you are vaccinated, or does it not say?
Does not say. If you are not fully, no, this is unvaccinated or not fully vaccinated.
Because at one point I had heard that for fully vaccinated, you still should quarantine.
Okay, Daryl, let me share this. Hold, please.
I'm waiting.
How's that? So
there you go. Perfect.
This is for coronavirus 2019. It's not for 2019. This is the most current. Domestic travel, if you're not vaccinated, get tested 1 to 3 days before, get tested 3 to 5 days after. Self-monitor for symptoms for everyone, and wear a mask and take other protection during travel for everyone.
Yeah, no, I think this is from 2021. It's just the corona, or COVID-19 is a corona disease. 2019. Right. That's the full, or coronavirus disease is the full title of it. So
I just wanted to point that out, that this really isn't from 2019.
Yeah.
Even though it says 2019, because
that's referring to the virus that we're battling. But yeah, it is according to the chart, fully vaccinated individuals do not need to get the test. They do not need to quarantine. It's just advising that you, not from the chart, but they were just advising that you get tested.
Right. So pretty easy, simple chart. I think we can all figure that one out.
I don't know. There were too many options on it.
Oh yeah, that's true. Sorry. So in CDC's recommendations, thank you, for large gatherings, you know what? Sounds the same. Wear a mask with 2 or more layers. Wear the mask over your nose and mouth and secure it under your chin. I've seen men with large beards, and it doesn't secure well under the chin.
No.
Interesting, in cold weather, wear your mask under your scarf, ski mask, or balaclava.
Of course.
Yeah. And keep a spare mask. Have a couple of spares in case they get wet, especially out here in Washington where it's going to rain a lot here in the Northwest. Your masks get wet. You don't want to wear a wet mask. That can cause bacterial pneumonia.
One of the big complaints with the masks at the theme parks in Florida was how wet they would get throughout the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've heard bring 2 or 3 masks if you're going to a park. And now that the parks have reopened in California, that probably applies out there too.
Mm-hmm. That's right. The parks have changed. So in California and Florida, in the parks, I don't know if you're going to be able to do one of these suggestions, is avoid crowded, poorly ventilated indoor spaces, like rides.
They're pretty good in the California parks, at least, about not having many of those indoor spaces that are crowded. All of the queue lines at most, not all, but most of those parks are actually outdoors. They may be under awnings.
Yeah. There you go.
But they're not indoors.
I was thinking, I know this one doesn't exist anymore. Star Tours, Indiana Jones.
Star Tours exists.
Does it still?
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, it the queue up to it is so entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
It's all indoors.
And what they've done and some of those, and I couldn't. Oh yeah, Space Mountain. Well, Space Mountain, you're pretty much running through the indoor queue areas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they've done with some of the other ones, but I know, Florida, they took a lot of those indoor queue areas and made them, literally walk through. You can't get indoors until you can walk, but they took, for like Peter Pan, they took the restaurants near it, closed the restaurants, and used them as queue areas to extend the line. So they're pulling.
So while you're in line, you could get a churro or what?
No, I think they actually closed that kitchen altogether. Well, and you realize at like the Disney parks, you'll have 2, 3, 4 restaurants that all have one common kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they might not even look like, or seem like they have the same menus, or be in the same area. But those parks have such massive blocks, essentially, that you can have that one central kitchen with the restaurants being off of different streets, as it were. Right.
So one of the things they say is to, if you're outdoors, try to make space for yourself. They have a great picture here I wanted to share, of an idea of how to
draw circles on the ground so that you can get your own space.
Keep your own little pod there safe, right? So you have areas, if you're going to have an outdoor event, if it's a geocaching, there's always seminars and keynote speakers and such. Just put down your blanket, identify your space, and don't let anybody come right up next to you. I think it'll work well. I like it.
I'm not so sure.
Okay.
Geocaching events, probably.
Right.
But the concerts, probably not. We'll see how that works.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, wash your hands.
Brightling says some of those people have their own flying carpets.
Ooh.
See, that's what you missed. If you had the flying carpet, it wouldn't be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Then you make your own space by flying away. So where do we get our flying carpets?
We have to wait.
Oh. I was promised flying carpets.
Oh, go to IKEA.
I don't think they're open right now.
It's a name that's unpronounceable, so I can't tell you what it is.
Wow. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. There you go. So yeah, and again, common sense, couple of masks, and avoid getting close to people. Wash your hands. What was the other one? Food. So at larger events, there's always food, right? Well, buffets, not an option anymore. So if you're going to buy food at an event, make sure it's all single serving stuff. You bought it and you're the one that's going to go eat it. Make sure you can get it hot. If the hotter, the better. Eat outdoors. Limit your alcohol consumption. Do you know why, Daryl?
No, I'm curious to find out.
Because consuming alcohol may make you less likely to follow COVID-19 safety measures.
Oh, nice. Okay.
You know what they're saying is when you're drunk, you don't make good choices, but they don't want to say that, for everything, just for COVID-19.
And here I thought there was actually something like it weakens the immune system that you might get it. Might be more susceptible.
Bring your own food, drinks, plates, cups, utensils, condiment packages, if possible. And of course, make sure you throw it all away.
GSM Times 2 has a recommendation of get a portable water pump and a sprinkler that shoots water 6 feet. Bring umbrellas for your group, and no one else will enter.
I don't know. It might be a hot day, and they'll go, "Oh, this is really nice. I like this."
I'm thinking maybe what you should do is sanitizer. Have a 6-foot sanitizer shower.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. What staggering news, he says, about the alcohol consumption. Minimize the time you spend in the restaurant, bar, or concession area. The longer you stay, the more you increase your risk. So, Daryl, riddle me this one. If you're allowed to take your mask off at the table and eat, why do you have to put your mask on to walk the 12 feet out of the restaurant and suddenly now you're at risk when you've had it off for an hour?
Yeah. We joke about that all the time. It's, the reason that works is because if you have food in front of you, COVID gets scared and runs away.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
COVID is afraid of food.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing it had an eating disorder.
Maybe. There you go. So avoid self-serve and buffet style food options.
See, if that's the case, then we should go to any kind of buffet because there's such quantities of food that would scare all the COVID away.
No.
No, don't try that.
Oh.
That's a joke. Don't try this at home.
So I've got some Washington State guidelines as well for small events, right? It's COVID killed by cheese. Of course it is.
Pizza Ninja wants to know if he wears Fruit of the Loom a sweet with fruit around me. Does it ward it off?
I think it might.
No,
yeah.
I don't want to find out.
Especially the talking grapes. I always found them disturbing.
There was so much wrong with those ads. But they were like the 70s and 80s to me.
Mm-hmm. So Washington State small group guidelines is plan ahead. They're saying you can get together with friends and family. And I think they want to keep the idea of a pod, right? These are the people that you have been in contact with throughout the whole thing. This is your pod. And, if somebody in that pod gets sick, then everybody could, be exposed, but it should limit your exposure. Did you want to read from Annie? Or did you want to?
Sorry. I was going to, but then I choked on my water.
Annie says the reviewers must take local considerations into account when deciding whether or not to publish an event. Outdoor events are more acceptable than indoor events.
Yeah, and we're still under restrictions on indoor events right now, but we can have the outdoor events.
Right. Well, it depends. The event I went to was in a different county that was in phase 3. At the time, let's see, that was on the weekend. Monday, the governor said no changes. Everybody who's still in phase 2 is in phase 2. They were talking about doing the entire state back to phase 2, but certain counties are in phase 3. We were in phase 3 for a week. It was really nice, and then we went back to phase 2.
But yes, it does depend on your local guidance. But that's one of the problems right now is it's hard to list an event because you don't necessarily know what might change before your event actually happens.
Right. Annie says, we've just been permitted to have indoor events, but outdoor events have been occurring for months here in Australia. Brylang says, in BC, Canada, we're currently not publishing events due to public health orders banning all gatherings. And, I know Canada and especially BC has been hit hard in the last couple of months, months. So, you guys will get there. It's okay. So Washington State says plan ahead, try to limit it, review your guest list, less than 5 people you don't live with. Yeah, I don't know if
that's not going to work for a geocaching event.
Right. Be creative. Think of ways that don't involve sharing a meal or going inside. Spread out. Keep it short. Do a health check if you're, got symptoms such as a cough, fever, shortness of breath. Just don't go. Consider the children. Kids have trouble playing 6 feet apart. So wearing masks and not sharing toys or food may be the safest plan of action. Remember, kids under 2 should never wear masks. And, we're seeing that school-age children tend not to be affected by or transmit this disease. So.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more younger students getting hit, though, now. There's actually been a few in our area.
I haven't heard of any.
Where the parents are actually vaccinated and, kids get it. They don't. It's got to be disturbing.
So, of course, while you're together, wash your hands, wear masks, no sharing,
Wait a minute.
despite everything your mother told you.
So, while we're together, we have to wash our hands. How are we
Yes.
going to do that 6 feet
Yeah,
apart
we have to wash each other's
and
hands.
without sharing?
Right.
That's a real challenge.
Yeah. Clean, disinfect everything. Avoid close contact. And if you're inside and you can, open windows. Get fresh air moving around.
So
that makes sense?
It does. And I figure in the last few minutes here, I want to talk about what we think our plans are going to be for the year. I'm hoping to have a lot more events.
Mhm.
I'm hoping that the June and July mega events that I was planning on going to actually happen. And I do have plans to hit both. And the president, Biden, has said he expects us to get back to, or he wants us to get back to normal by July 4th.
Well, he said July 4th, and then he said Labor Day.
Oh, see, I hadn't caught that one.
Labor Day or Memorial Day, whichever one's later. So yeah, it's a moving target. And then I'm sure he's going to say, Halloween, Thanksgiving.
Well, I was just going to say the July 4th to me seems almost as realistic as Trump's claims that we had COVID beat. They're just like, what? We're pulling magical wishes out of the air and saying they're true?
Yeah.
So I don't have much expectation, to be honest, of July 4th. I'm hoping that they're not wrong and that we see a decline, but I can't imagine that we're going to get that many people vaccinated. We're looking at numbers in my county of 35%, and we have to hit 80% for herd immunity, if I remember correctly.
Right.
And the numbers of anti-vaxxers are
growing.
higher. Yeah, are higher already before this than the 20% that we can allow with the anti-vax. So,
right.
I'm very nervous, to be honest. I'm not saying we aren't going to get there, but I don't think it's realistic that we're going to get the herd immunity in the U.S.
Yeah, I find this anti-vax. I've always been very pro-vaccine, right? For the kids, for if there's a vaccine, you just do it. But there's a lot of resistance to this one just because it was pushed through so quickly, and it's become a government mandate. I have to say, and this is my opinion. This is not the opinion of the podcast or Daryl. I don't know, Daryl. It could be your opinion, but I'm just going to share my opinion. You have to come up with your own. The idea of a vaccine passport or showing your vaccine card offends me because I can't tell you the years I've worked on HIPAA compliance in computers and such, where it says, no, your personal health records are your own. You don't need to share those with anyone but your doctor, right? Nobody needs to know my cholesterol. Nobody needs to know, if I have a heart condition, that doesn't have to be shared. But if you've got the vaccine, we have to know that. That's wrong. This is my personal medical information.
Yeah, I do understand that, though. It's kind of a faulty system entirely because you don't care who has the vaccine, you care who doesn't have the vaccine.
That's right.
But how do you prove the negative? You have to prove the negative by showing the positive. So in any case, no, I think it does make sense. It's just I don't like it, and I don't trust it. Especially with our silly, CDC cards. Oh, those are so easy to fake. Who cares? Doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean a thing.
So, yeah. But the guys who do Clear, you're familiar with them, right? Are doing something with the vaccine for travelers and such. So if you have clear, you are going to get through much faster and easier on traveling than you ever did before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I shouldn't say ever. You're going to get through faster in relationship to others. So your savings on time will vastly improve now.
Just Finding Our Way says we travel internationally for years and the vaccine card was essential to get into most countries. Yes, I agree with that. But you didn't need it to get into a business or a restaurant. And that's where I'm squawking. That's where I'm drawing the line.
And we're
But
getting.
If you have it, you get a free donut at Krispy Kreme.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that.
Yep. And there's no limit. You can go back day after day and get a free donut if you've got this. I haven't, but that was the whole thing for a while.
Wow. What I came up with is kind of my position on the vaccine passport and allowing or disallowing. Anything that's mandatory, like going to the grocery store, should not require a card. Something that's entertainment, like going to the movies, should. Where you draw that line is the question. And I still get why it's problematic. But again, it's having the vaccine, not having the card. And that's the problem with all of these. If there was some way to do it without the card or passport, that was, well, and I shouldn't say that because it's not the card or passport I have the problem with. It's the high probability of counterfeiting.
Well, and with even the vaccine cards that I know I have and my kids have, you know what? Those are easy to fake as well.
Exactly.
So it's just, a piece of card stock with signatures and dates on it. I mean, there's no magic bullet to say that, there's no hologram, nothing to protect this from you printing one out at home.
Yep. Yeah, they're incredibly easy to fake. But conversely, they have the electronic passports or visa system rather throughout most of Europe, I believe it was, and they had a major outage one day, I think it was, before COVID hit, and everything broke down and no one could travel, and it turned out to be a whole ordeal. So I don't necessarily like for this kind of stuff to have something that's
right
electronic either. So,
well, GSM times 2 says just check for the tracker. Problem solved.
Yeah.
So just take your phone with your what is that?
5G.
Well, 5G, but real short
NFC
distance communication.
NFC.
Yeah, your NFC reader, and you should be able to pull up all the information off of that chip. Just kidding.
Well, and that's I think part of why people are so scared of the vaccine and the trackers is because they think that's actually happening.
I know. I need to say that I'm only joking on that. It's like saying the earth is flat. I'm only joking. Okay.
But in any case, going back to the geocaching plans, do you have any plans for events or mega events?
No, I don't this year. I know, did Mingo Madness happen? Wasn't it this weekend, or is it last weekend or this weekend?
Thought it was happening this weekend.
So,
but I'm actually like totally lost track of time. So
I know
it might have happened and I didn't catch it.
Mingo Madness, Moga. That's happening. Coming up, right?
Mingo Madness is this weekend, according to Kitty Catch.
Okay.
Moga, I don't remember. Browling says his plans for events are outside chance of going to the Tri-Cities mega event if the Canadian-U.S. border reopens. I have both my vaccine shots by then. I'm not hoping for the border to open, to be honest.
I want to say it just got renewed for another 3 months, but Bryling probably knows better than I do about the border status. So
Yeah, I'd love to get back to Canada.
Yeah.
This year, and it's not going to happen, I'm afraid. And I just have to drive across.
I know the secret way in, but I'm not going to tell people.
Yeah, probably not a good idea.
Oh, he's playing Sergeant Schultz. He knows nothing.
Wow. Okay. Another blast from the past. All right.
Yeah.
So if you could,
if the Tri-Cities events are going, I don't think they are. I don't believe any notice has been given, but I would be shocked if they happen.
Okay. So you're thinking you're not going to be able to hit any events this year?
No, not big ones, just, the local events.
Now, did you have a celebration event?
I still have a celebration event to plan.
To host, yes.
Yeah.
So are you going to do anything in planning that? Are you going to try to find a pavilion or something that you can rent?
Yes. And when we were open for that brief period in phase 3, the parks department started opening up pavilion rentals. I don't know why that was difficult for me to say. So, I started looking into that, and then we all got shut down. So yes, that's what I'm planning to do is, we could do a barbecue, something. Well, I guess maybe we shouldn't do anything with food.
Yeah, probably not. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. It's going to have to just be like a flash mob kind of thing again, meet and greet. But it has to be 2 hours, right? Or is it 1 hour?
I don't know, 2 hours. Just finding your way said, I thought I saw Tri-Cities was going to be in September. And yes, Tri-Cities is happening September 4th. So, that's much later than it has in the past. So that's a real option.
And should be before we hit our next big wave for fall.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think they were calling for October again is what they were looking at.
2 hour for celebration events.
Yes. Okay. That's what I thought. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I thought. So it's going to be a long event to not have something. So it's going to be bring your own,
if you plan it from 1 to 3, that's okay. You don't have food, plan it.
You'll have to bring your own beverage.
10 to noon. You could provide single serve water bottles, soda bottles, you could provide that, no issue. If you could come up with individually wrapped sandwiches, that could work. So
yeah, you could get the little ice cream sandwiches.
Oh, there you go.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking, it's going to be just in a park or something somewhere, and just do a come and hang out for 2 hours.
Exactly. I would like to do it in a park or somewhere nearby where there's a good number of geocaches, so people have something they can go and do.
Yeah, go and cache for an hour or whatever. Spend a couple of minutes here and there chatting. Find groups to go out with. Yeah, Jim Stark says, plan it near an ice cream shop, and people can buy snacks if they want.
Nice.
Yeah, I've thought about doing that. Yeah, it's a little bit tough to find a spot that I can actually make that work out here. Especially because the ice cream shops seem to be very, very busy in this time of COVID. It's one of the few places people can go and hang out and eat.
Just finding our way says I'm doing an event in a couple of weeks with individual ice cream sandwiches.
Oh, he stole our idea before we came up with it.
I know.
All right. We're getting way too silly now. Why don't we take off and leave people to their own thoughts for the next week?
That's right. So, folks, thanks for joining us tonight. Until next week, check the Cacheamaniacs website at cacheamaniacs.com for more on the Geo Gearheads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads@cacheamaniacs.com or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cashmaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on the website to support the Cashmaniac shows. Geo Gearheads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. The show's copyright 2021 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.
Cash with a Cashmaniac.